There you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
sorry for jumping for all the
no problem. This is exactly what we want to steer the discussion here, right? I mean, and move forward.
So just to the point that Prasant made earlier. So first of all, the slide, you asked what we showed. So Milan was still showing the presentation that we had on the
That's right.
working group. And I think it's a good idea that under the working group repo, under the Edge directory, the first README, there's a README. This README, we can definitely write down who are the active contributors. Right now it's empty, as Milan showed.
Yeah.
So we can definitely update it with the active contributors. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
In general, we just need to see that we have the right level of traffic in the working group, I think. We don't want to shake the boat too much when we have only a few people attending.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. No. Okay, so that's good suggestions. I could add kind of active participants or contributors actually to the README here. As I said, each meeting will capture who attended and so on. So and there'll be recordings. I'm guessing we'll publish recordings in the same repo here. Okay. So So again, what Ofer said was that what I was showing, these are the slides from the workshop, just to kind of for people who didn't attend the session, so they could see what was presented and all that, and logistics, and so that's about it. So now moving to the next item on the agenda, we discussed a little bit governance and maybe flushed out what we discussed in the workshop, talked about some logistics updates about like future meetings, and survey that was posted. Now, one of the discussion points in that, let me switch to this, was about statement of work, and we provided abstract, and we would like to finalize the statement of work for the working group. So we have goals, what do we want to produce, and sort of exit criteria, right? And so that was the document that was shared in a invite. Here we are talking about the statement of work from the workshop, what was discussed, right? And so that is our first item on the agenda, to have people look at it, expand on the software statement of work from the workshop, and the document was posted here. And I would like quick comments. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at it, but also our goal is, because there is a good document put up by Yedon earlier on, and we felt like all this should be kind of folded into the statement of work document. So basically, there's lots of material there that belongs to statement of work. And so that is also the idea here. So we have this document in front of the working group and say, okay, this is what we are going to do, and everybody agrees. So my point being here is that I'm not sure. Let's go maybe quickly to the structure of this document. And by the way, we use Google Docs.
Maybe I can just go over it.
Yeah, Ofer will go over it, but quickly before that, I would say that bottom line is that we don't know, what people prefer for the reviewing and whatever, and we had like, okay, we use Google Doc here because it seems very other people use, but if people want to use a sort of MD document in the repo, and we have it there, and use that as a vehicle to kind of comment and review through the GitHub repo, that's fine too. But maybe we are thinking this is a good way to start and collect comments, and once we have sort of working final draft, we put it in a GitHub, and then from that moment on, it becomes something that is maintained through the GitHub and updated through the GitHub. Does that sound like as a reasonable plan?
Yeah, by the way, I transformed Yedong's earlier document into a PR using the Markdown on the working group repo. So there's a new PR you guys should be able to see. I think we can either just patches the SOW paragraphs as patches into that PR, or we can do another one and then combine. Either way works for me.
So this is the one you're talking about.
Yeah. So Markdown is a little bit easier to review, but Google Doc definitely easier to edit and yeah.
I think the difference is that when you work with the document in Google Docs, it's easier to comment on and have a discussion. Like someone is commenting and another one is answering on that comment. I'm not sure that the MD provides the same set of capabilities to that resolution.
You can do that through the review. The GitHub provides a review workflow. Basically, you can do that through the patch review. But I agree with you. So it's not very nice for continuous commenting.
So yeah, I know. So that's why we are asking, actually. What is the best proposal and what people prefer to do? We don't have any specific preference, but we thought using Google Doc to start is okay.
Yeah. Same here. Well, either way could work, I think. So I'm just prepare a PR just in case you guys prefer this way. If not, we can just collaborate on the Google Doc.
This one is a document that is derived from the Yedong's document?
Yes.
Okay. So this is about, I
format.
see it's called ONNX Edge scenarios. Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically introduce scenarios and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So about that document, so I did capture some of the points in the statement of work, but this document is slightly too detailed for a statement of work. It's kind of it's one of these documents that need to come after a statement of work.
Agree.
I agree. It's a very good one. I pulled some ideas for me to describe things into the statement of work, but for example, and I was just reminded that I wanted to maybe pull in also a sentence about the use cases, but the level of details, for example, that exists on the use case is too much for the statement of work. The statement of work doesn't need to include the work. It's just a statement of what's going to be done.
Yeah.
But so maybe we should review the statement of work, and I'm fine with converting it to Markdown. If you believe it's a better way, I can just convert it the same way that you did and put it inside the Edge directory. Either way, it looks slightly more like GitHub-y, I would say. If you put a markdown rather than pointing to a Word document, a Google Doc thing. So I'm fine with that as well.
Okay, so let's maybe then I guess I would say let's pick a method and stick with it. My proposal is that for the reviews, I really think that Google Doc is more elegant and more flexible to collect comments. And then once we have something that is fairly reviewed, I think then it becomes document that is part of the GitHub, and we get the PR, we get we convert it to Markdown and becomes something that lives in a GitHub. From that point on, I would say we would expect not significant changes to it. It's more like a, ongoing maintenance is if needed.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So, Ofer, do you want to drive through this?
Sure. Just before that, maybe another thing about how to comment or edit. So right now, I made a document so that anybody can put comments. I already see that a few people are logged in. So you can put comments. I can allow anybody to edit. Anybody who has the link can edit. I didn't know if I want to do that, not to have people editing on top of the other. But what we can do maybe is to open it. Instead of commenting, you can actually directly modify the text. I can do that by allowing everybody to edit, and maybe we can put it like that for a week or two and see what happens. If we see that people are writing on top of each other, that would become a problem, and we probably need to pull back into just comments.
I would suggest. I don't know what others think. My point is, like, if somebody takes ownership, because I would like people to have action items, right, and ownership of certain things. And then, there's an owner who can drive this and control editing and, updating comments and all that stuff. I think it's going to be more control versus opening document for editing. But obviously, everybody can comment, right? And that gives a little bit more structure and control. I don't know what others think. So that's why if I see also, for example, Howard's document that he shared before the meeting is also comment only, right?
Yeah. Commenting
which is like, okay. I mean, that seems fine because you want to say, I don't want everybody to edit this, and then we step on each other, right? Rather, there's an owner who can convert this into the
commenting and suggesting could help leaves a trail. So it's much better. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess even editing leaves a trail. It's just that it's a little bit more disruptive, I guess. Okay. Okay, go for it. Can you then continue, please?
Sure. So I think before actually diving into the content, what I wanted to make sure is looking at just the titles of the sections to see if we need to add additional sections.
Actually, I gave you control of the mouse. This thing works.
Okay. Nice. So, when you look at statement of works, there are different techniques to do statement of work. Some people have sections like tasks. Some people add sections like, anyways, right now, the sections that exist are purpose, scope, organization, deliveries, and exit criteria and milestones. These are at the top level the sections, which let me briefly describe the purpose, and then we can, I'll be happy to hear if you would like to add more sections. So purpose is at the high level presenting what's the goal of the work that we're going to do. Scope, he wants to briefly describe the things that are going to be handled more in thinking of domain and how the work is done, slightly extending, if you think about it, the scope. Organization is a typical chapter that talks about how things are going to happen, more of what we called in the meeting as logistics. Deliveries is slightly more detailed into what the working group is going to do, or what the statement of work that the working group has in terms of things that need to be done. There is some overlap, by the way, between deliveries and exit criteria, which in some cases people only have one of them. For now, I took both of them. Milestones is given to try to carve out some time frame for some of these things, and actually also try to describe what's going to be handled first. For example, describing actually what we mean by edge, because we already saw that there's different definitions. Describe what's in the scope of the edge working group. And exit criteria is usually the things that once you meet them, the statement of work is done. And basically, based on the governance rules, the working group finished its work. There is another step that appeared in the ONNX governance, which is presenting the work to the other SIGs. So after you created all of your documentation, code commits, whatever, there is a stage of presenting it to the SIGs and getting some buyout or so. I don't know if to put that as part of exit criteria, for example. But
if something needs to be specifically communicated with SIGs, then there has to be. I guess we are creating the suggestions and requirements for SIGs, right? At some level. So if it's a requirement for SIG to act on, then it needs to be part of the exit criteria, I think. Otherwise, it's just like goes nowhere. But it's maybe subtlety. I mean, we can update this as we go. Obviously, it's not. I mean, we should be fairly agreed to at the beginning, but I don't think this is the document that is cast in stone at the start off. I mean, it could expand, right, as well as time goes. At least my view. But we need to have some agreement about where do we go from here and what are our deliverables, milestones, and all that stuff that we would like to meet.
Okay, so maybe just talking first of all about the chapters, maybe to hear from others, from Howard or Idong, if you see anything that you would like to see in additional. If I look at the document that you created, for example, that talked about these use cases, it's something that, to my view, falls into the scope and into the deliveries. So I can see a direct, I think I even already placed some of it. Define a profile. No, actually, that's a point. That's a good point. I need to add define use cases or define scenarios. But
I did see somewhere down in the exit criteria you're talking about.
In the exit criteria, it appears, but not in the deliveries.
I don't know. Do we need both? Actually, to your point. Maybe we do. I mean, each of these exit criteria points is kind of connected to deliveries, so to speak. So it's like, okay.
So I think the deliveries, the purpose, right now it's not there yet, but the purpose is deliveries to be more detailed and even to make the exit criteria less detailed, pointing to the deliveries.
Okay, that's fine with me. So guys, what do you think? Our proposal from the working group session and the workshop was that we define these edge profiles, which is really a subset of ONNX set, and so that we can tie that these edge profiles to compliance, and how do you say, so people can say I am ONNX Edge Profile 1 compliant, whatever, something like that, right? And that is really what this in a nutshell describes. For example, number 3 here, where Ofer is pointing right now, is like an example. like, because there are multiple kind of attributes that define the edge device. And I think there is definitely something that we realized in speaking to some folks from Huawei in a workshop, that, Yedong, and I think it was a Tiger, that it appears that, the perception of the edge in that domain in Huawei is more thinking about what we would say is infra edge. Infrastructure edge. It's one class of the edge, really,
Yes.
not really a mobile edge, right?
Yeah, but I think we're going into the details
Right.
already of
Yeah.
kind of next meeting's content.
Okay, I agree. So I just like maybe putting a little bit color and flavor to what was discussed, right, in the workshop, and so we are following up on our proposal from the workshop that we define as profiles. So now, actually, looking at what Howard shared before the meeting, it seems like there is also a proposal there from Howard that we define ONNX runtime for edge profile, so to speak. Or ONNX, what do you call it? ONNX Edge runtime?
ONNX runtime for edge.
Right. And so this is something that we need to discuss. Is this the part of the statement of work as well? I think if it seems like, something that actually I was wondering myself, is there anything specific to the ONNX runtime itself, or any ONNX interface that needs to be specifically done for the edge use cases, right? And so.
Can we for a second go back and just talk about the statement of work, because we're kind of diverging into discussion. So
per SW document, I think overall our vision are aligned. So the profile mentioned here is very similar to the scenario concept we talked about. So in a higher level, I would suggest to add one section to describe related working group N6. So we don't need to get into very specific, because this is only a SOW document. So we just list out like possible related ONNX working groups and SIGs that to the edge working group. So, for example, a quantization working group might be one, and also our team is working on setting up a model zoo CI for ONNX, so that would also related to the compliance piece of the puzzle you guys mentioned in the scope, which we agree will be very important. So I would suggest we just add another session, a very short session, section on related working group and SIGs, and just list them and leave out the details like how.
So, Milan, I'm going to edit as you.
So I think, Milan, I would agree to that too. We should make it clear the relationship we have with the other SIGs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How about this?
There are no overlaps in deliverables that way, right? If we're recommending or if we are owning it, should be very clear.
Yeah.
How about, I'm just showing it.
Just, I think, bullet points or.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, things like if we need to deliver something and influence SIGs, then it has to be spelled out.
Yeah.
And so one point was about collaboration, and I mentioned that we should try to make sure that we're not, what was the term? I didn't hear it. Someone was mentioning not to do the work of the other working groups, something like that.
Not to overlap.
Okay.
Not to overlap, and if we're recommending something, that's all we should say to. Or if we're defining or delivering something, so there should be clarity on that.
So I guess this is something that I would need to, we need to kind of establish regular touch-up in between chairs, I would say, then to make sure that they are aware of what's going on in our group. Right? And so we need to identify these working groups that we want to kind of be in touch with, and SIGs. And so I think quantization is it seems like one of them, at least from what we discussed in the past. But then compliance is another one, right?
Yeah. And Monozoo.
And Monozoo, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we can just list them for the moment, and they should be okay. Another suggestion is for deliverables or deliveries. I think we can categorize into like 2 areas. So one is document. We'll define all the profiles, scenarios, whatever, and the other kind of deliverable could be like code. But I don't think we should restrictly define anything in SOW. So it could be just any necessary implementation of the, say, profile or so we just point out that there might be some code produced by the working group.
Maybe something like this.
Yeah, and
something like documents.
Yeah, and the code will find a home, to a specific SIG or project for sure.
Yeah, so the point of contributing code was kind of unclear to us in the
governance rules.
Yeah, in the governance model that Facebook and Microsoft presented. I think the idea is a working group doesn't own code, but as you just said, it doesn't preclude us from suggesting code that can be adopted by some SIG.
That's right.
Yeah. So from like other open source communities, past experience. So basically, it's like the folks from this working group will develop code in like upstream project. It's kind of that relationship. So the working group doesn't own the code per se. It's the people from the working group that knows the problem that will help develop the code and implement the code, whatever in the upstream project or SIG or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I agree. I mean, we should not restrict ourselves to the document only. No question. Yeah. So listen. So we are 5 minutes away from the end of meeting. Because I did shorten it by 5 minutes because of our other engagement. Me and Offer have to go. I would like to end. So now, on the structure, the goal of this was to kind of make sure that the structure captures all that we want. So adding collaboration is a very good one. So I think, could we conclude that in general, this group, that attended this meeting agrees on this structure of the SOW, and then as an action item, we will take it on ourselves, Offer and me, to finalize and propose a version of the document to be done by the next meeting.
I can make some other suggestions, but yeah.
So please comment.
That looks fine. Yeah. Comment.
Yeah. So do comments in the document, and now unfortunately now so now let's leave it at that. The other aspect of this is that can I take mouse now?
Sure.
Okay, so we are getting to the action items and goals for next meeting. Now we have this document that Howard you put up. This is a proposal that seems like something that we need to review. So I think the action item for everybody is to comment to your document and ask questions. What you mean, if any, anything needs to be
definitely.
right? So we will mark that as like action items for everybody. One thing that I clearly see here, that now this goes into the updating the content of the statement of work, and maybe adding something into it based on outcome of this. And what else? I think those are the 2 action items right now. That we, by the next meeting, we have reviewed these documents and created final draft. I would say call it final draft, or how do we call it? I don't know, but final draft sounds okay. Of the statement of work, that we can say, okay, now we're gonna move it to GitHub, basically, after we've done this session of reviews.
We also need to say that right now, tentatively, the meetings are going to be on Wednesday, 8 a.m.
Yes.
And people should vote. If a majority of people, again, would prefer a different time, then we
will adjust. So right now, I'll capture that in meeting notes as well as something. I'm gonna keep survey open until next Friday, and so there'll be enough time for everybody to kind of vote. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good. Well, I think this was successful first meeting.
Yeah. Kick off.
We
Thank you.
show a lot. Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna stop recording right now. Thanks. See you next time.
Okay. Thank you so much. See you next meeting.
Put an agenda for the next meetings too when we set it up.
So our goal is to set it up a week before, not later than a week before. In meantime, if you want to propose an item for the agenda, please share it on the GitHub channel.
Okay.
So just to kind of clarify, we plan to publish the agenda as a heads up on the GitHub, but even after publishing the agenda for the next 2-3 days, that's the idea, to kind of push some notification to you that there's going to be a meeting. And it's kind of a suggestion for people, encouraging them to add items to the agenda.
Yeah, and I would suggest we keep the agenda and minutes in the Google document so that people could easier to suggest like new items.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How about this? I mean, I was thinking that maybe this is a little bit going in a different direction, but I started this meetings, and every meeting will have its MD. So why don't I just publish the MD, or whoever is publishing agenda publishes the document for the next meeting and puts the agenda proposal in there, and then people can directly, I guess, comment to the document, I guess.
Sure.
And then the same document will be updated to include meeting minutes.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
See ya.